All right, everybody. Welcome to the Tennessee Brando Show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on this Friday evening. I've been sitting here reading the comments in the waiting room, and I'm glad to see we've already got a crowd. So thank you very much. I was a musician for over 25 years, and I always knew it would be a good night when I pulled up to the bar and there would be cars in the parking lot. Whenever we showed up, it was like okay, we've got some cars in the parking lot, so we're good. And that is always a good sign. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here with me. Hope everyone is doing good, and thank you for being here. We got a lot to talk about, folks. There is so much going on in this world. It is absolutely a crazy, crazy week in politics. It truly is. It's been an absolute train wreck of a week in a lot of ways, and so there is so much that we can talk about. And I'm sure I will see the comments, and I will look over, and you guys will remind me of something else that I forgot. That's the thing, folks. There is so much going on these days in the world that it's hard to keep up with it. It's hard to remember what you even covered. I got a funny story for you guys. I don't care one bit to own this and admit this. It's actually kind of comical. One day I sat down to do a video. I did the video, talked about a subject. I don't remember exactly which one it was. And then later on in the day, I kind of got a little confused for a minute, and I was like, oh, I got to do that one. And I sat down and I started to do the same video again about the same exact subject. And I did like the first clip of it, and I went, wait, and I kind of said this stuff before, because I don't have a script. None of my videos are scripted. I'm just winging it. And I was like, I feel like I talked about this. And then I realized I'd already made it. That's how much is going on in the world these days. It's just so insane that sometimes you forget what you've talked about. So I know for sure that there will be plenty to talk about it. I'm sure if I forgot anything, you guys will be sure to remind me. So thank you very much for doing that. One thing we did last week that I thought was really cool, and I want to do this at every show. I want to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button whenever you get a chance. If you haven't already, be sure to hit it. I'm going to let you guys know that right now, at the start of the show, we're at 288,294. So, folks, we're closing in on 300,000 people. And before we even really get rolling with this show, I just want to say that I truly appreciate everyone for being here. Really can't believe we've made it this far. A special shout out to the Midas Touch Network for being, partners with my channel and helping me through. I got a great team, behind the scenes helping me do all this stuff, folks. It's way more time consuming than I ever thought it would be, because there's no break when you're dealing in the news. When you're dealing in breaking news, then you're always on call. There's always something happening. You can plan to take a break, like I did the day that Trump almost got assassinated. That day I just planned to take a trip out of town, and then that news broke, and I was in the hotel room doing a breaking live. And so whenever you're doing news, you better be ready to just be in there, plugged in 7 days a week. But the Midas Touch Network is there for me. I got people working behind the scenes. Jess is always there doing all my designs, and she's the bouncer in the house tonight, or as they call it on YouTube live streams, moderators. But back in my day, we called them bouncers, and if somebody got out of line, they got shoved the door, and sometimes it wasn't pretty. But it's a lot simpler on here. It's just a matter of just putting them in timeout. And I'll be honest with you, I've said this so many times, we don't just go throwing somebody out of the stream for disagreeing with me or calling me names. I can handle those things. But we've had people in the past come in and just try to make the comment section all about them and start spamming and telling people to click on stuff. So we want to make sure that no one does that. And also, folks, I do have to address this, because it just ever so often it gets out of hand. There are so many impersonators out there now. Tennessee Brando. There's like Marlon Brando Jr. that's got my profile picture. I'm no relation to Marlon Brando, by the way. There's Tennessee Brando Senior. There's just all sorts of fake profiles out there and some of them's actually stole pictures off of my personal profile and put it out there for the world. So if any of those pages ever messages you and tells you they're raffling off a guitar, or they want your Venmo or whatever, don't give them anything, and don't click on anything they send, because I've reached that point where there's a lot of hackers and fakers out there. So you just got to be aware of those. But yeah, we remember that number, 288,294. We'll see where we're at in a little bit. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, share this video, and let people know that we're here tonight doing this. So we'll get the ball rolling here. And as we go, I've got stuff to tell you guys about that I'm excited to promote. But we'll dive into some subjects first. And I don't have a script in front of me, but I just jotted down some notes as to what happened this week. And I want to talk about the Elon Musk interview with Trump. Man, that was an absolute train wreck. That was so bad that I knew it would be. It was predictable that it would be that bad. But I really had no idea just how bad it would be. And of course, they start off right out of the gate having technical difficulties, which was pretty comical. Everything else on Twitter was working. But if you tried to hit that stream, it would say the space was unavailable. And at first, my first gut instinct was, man, these guys are going to make us pay for this. They're going to make us pay for this. This is a scam, you know. I thought, you're going to have to buy this little stupid blue check mark to watch this. And I ain't giving Elon Musk 50 cents. So, you know, I wasn't going to watch it if that was the case. And I sat and debated on whether or not to do a break-in live. But I thought, man, I don't want to break and just sit here and watch them fall apart. You know, I don't want to sit here, because I was actually watching Adam Mockler, to be honest with you guys. I was sitting there watching him try to get it to come in, and I was trying to get it to come in. I debated going live, but I was just having a cigar on the porch and trying to, you know, see if it would ever start. And of course, before it even gets started, they have to start crying conspiracy theory. They're trying to silence Trump and Elon. And that became the comment sections. And those comments were absolute gold. I read some of those and laughed out loud. Maybe I should have went breaking and just laughed with you guys. Because the comment section was like, they're trying to silence him. First they tried to shoot at him, and now they're trying to shut down him and Elon from telling the truth. Trump is a, you know, truth seeker, and Elon has got public square, you know, of free speech, and they're trying to shut it down. And just when you say to yourself, well, it's just the commenters, you know, it's just the people in the comment section rattling off a bunch of shit. No, Elon himself comes on to say that they're under attack. And it's just so over the top ridiculous. It's so over the top ridiculous, folks, that we even have to entertain this. It really is. Me and my mom has talked about this. You know, once Trump's long out of the picture, long gone out of the political theater, we're still trying to dust off, you know, all the carnage that he left us with. We're going to be sitting back going, how did this all happen to us? You know, and we're going to be trying to make sense out of this for years to come. And it's so easy. I mean, I've sat and watched Trump and his followers, and I've went, you know, it'd be the easiest gig ever if he was Trump. It really would, because you could literally say anything and they'd buy it. You don't have to base it on no data, no research, no evidence, no facts, no science, nothing. Not a thing. Just throw something out into the world and say they did it. They, the evil they. And people buys it. People gets all bent out of shape. People get scared. Oh, they are trying to shut down Elon Musk. They tried to take a shot at him. No, they never tried to take a shot at Donald Trump. A disturbed kid who voted Republican did. A disturbed kid who grew up probably on a steady diet of Trump's rhetoric is who did that. So it's so ridiculous how they immediately cry conspiracy theory. And of course, Elon throws that out there. And I'm going to jump ahead just a minute to say that they said later that they broke the internet. That's what happened. They just broke the internet. 1 billion people tuned in, they said. And I've seen so many people in my part of the world sharing that going, now tell me he's going to lose come November. And I'm like, yeah, they're setting you up for that. They're setting you up because they know they're going to lose. So they go ahead and tell you that 1 billion people tuned in on Twitter. And then you're going to be standing there the next day going, well, man, 1 billion people was on Twitter. You mean to tell me he couldn't win this thing? It's the same thing they did. I don't know where that voice came from, by the way. But it's the same thing that they did back in 2020. It was like the only way I can lose this thing is if it's rigged. And that's what he's doing again. He's already doing that again. He's already went from we're going to win this thing and we're going to be back in the White House to it's rigged. And so I really believe that the whole 1 billion people tuning in was BS. And I believe that the whole 1 billion people tuning in was so that come November when he loses, he can say, well, wait a minute. How could I have lost when 1 billion people tuned in? I remember back in 2020, people I worked with was like, how could he have lost, man? He was having these giant rallies and Trump was in his, or Biden was in his basement. And I was like, well, Biden had common sense and we had common sense and we weren't going to gather in massive crowds during a global pandemic. That was just us, you know. They're the morons that went out there and did that and caused the COVID numbers to go up in their towns when it happened. So, we're probably going to see that same mess again. It's going to be, well, a billion people was watching him and Elon. And so we're going to be right back down in that rabbit hole with them. But when the interview finally did kick off and get going, man, they spent the first 20 minutes Trump reliving the assassination attempt. And he laid it on thick. I mean, it was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. First of all, we all saw it. We saw what happened. And the way that he called it did not match what really happened at all, because according to him, he was hit by this bullet. He was struck so hard, but he was struck so hard that he fell to the ground real quick, he says. And when he went down, there was blood everywhere. He said blood was flying, bullets was flying. He heard people screaming and all this. And the Secret Service was on top of him in minutes. I was actually surprised that he praised the Secret Service as much as he did. But they lifted him up and there was blood everywhere. And for those of you that seen it, you saw a little bit of blood on the top of his ear, a little bit of blood on the side of his cheek, and that was that. But he made it sound like that he was Ric Flair at Starrcade 83 in the cage with Harley Race. I mean, he made it look like, if you ever watched that match on WWE with Eddie Guerrero and JBL, just Google that. Good Lord. That was bloodshed. Okay. What we saw at Trump's was not that at all. But he sat there and tried to sell it like it was a WWE event, like that he had took this bullet for democracy. And Elon is sitting there, and you could tell at one point that Elon's trying to kind of steer him away. And he can't get him to go away from it. And he's not going to ever, combat Trump in any way. He's just going to throw him softballs. And he started with that question so he could say that that's why I throw my endorsement behind you. Like Hulk Hogan, said the same thing. I couldn't stay quiet any longer because they tried to take out my president. They didn't try to do anything. A disturbed kid did. A disturbed kid that was raised on your rhetoric. But yeah, and then from there, it just went on to be one of the most boring interviews that I've ever heard. And I'll tell you what bores me to tears, folks, and it doesn't matter if it's Trump or whoever. I can't stand to just sit and hear someone ramble with no facts, no evidence, nothing compelling whatsoever, and just sit and praise themselves. Two billionaires sitting there stroking each other's ego. I just couldn't make it through the whole thing. I went back the next day and I watched several of the clips, which was pretty disturbing, some of them. Some of them was just so over the top ridiculous, like where he's talking about Kamala Harris being on the cover of Time magazine, and he said she looks like Melania. She's beautiful on the cover. It's a drawing, and she looks like Melania. It's just some of the most crazy stuff. Of course, he said he wanted to do away with the Department of Education. He wants to get someone like Elon Musk to help out with that. And just two billionaires sitting there stroking each other's egos, and it was absolutely ridiculous. One of the most boring interviews that I've ever heard. And I can honestly say that if I tuned in to hear Kamala Harris talking with, whoever, and she just sat and bragged about herself, even if it was her or Joe, anybody, after a while, I would be like, okay, what are you going to say? Are you going to tell us about your plans? But he had none of that. All he had was more of his fear and his propaganda. At one point, they were talking about immigration, and Trump or Elon made the comment that, a lot of these people are just coming here to work. They're hard workers and they just want a better life. And Trump really quickly, jumped in to say, oh, no, Elon, they're sending some of their worst people. It's absolute carnage. They're sending people from the mental institutions, people from the prisons. He's got no evidence to back up any of that, but he can say it and his crowd will believe it. And if Elon puts it on Twitter, and I'm never going to call it X, by the way, but if Elon puts it on Twitter and says they are trying to stop me from saying this, the cult, and that's what they are, will just absolutely lap it up. And it's just so disgusting to me. It's truly disgusting to watch. But I tell you what, I really appreciate everyone for being here with me. And like I said at the start of the show, I never have notes. I'm just winging this. So I was talking about hearing people ramble. I hope I'm not rambling for you guys. I hope I'm making some sense. But I do want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and being with me on this Friday night. You guys have done so many times, and I truly appreciate you. So what I basically do is I sit and I write down about 4 or 5 talking points that I want to hit on, and I figure that I can ramble about those for at least 15 minutes and we can keep it interesting. So I figured I would take this little pause here real quick to, first of all, take a drink, because I have absolutely been parched all day. It's one of those days where I can't get enough water. So stay hydrated. But I want to let everyone know that it's long overdue, and I was way late to the party getting this done. But sometimes that's just me. I got the bleach blonde, bad built butch body, the B6 tune that went viral back in July, whenever it was, June, July. Um, I I got that up on Bandcamp. So if you guys will go to bandcamp.com, you can now download the B6 tune, Bleach Blonde, Bad Built Butch Body, that I wrote, inspired by Jasmine Crockett's epic takedown of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I got to sing that song on Lights On with Jessica Denson for Jasmine Crockett. It was one of the coolest moments ever. And so me and Brian Stansbury, the drummer, I don't say my drummer, there's a story behind that, but one of my best friends in the world goes down to my good buddy Odell Brummett's studio in Huntsville, Tennessee, and we cranked out 3 tunes. We got He Ain't From Here, which came out last week, the song about J.D. Vance. It's up there as well. And then this week, Bleach Blonde, Bad Built Butch Body is now on Bandcamp. Now, I plan on putting these songs out on iTunes and all those places soon. And eventually there's going to be enough of them to just make another album with, and we'll just put them up that way. But for now, you guys can catch them on Bandcamp. And if you've not already, be sure to check out the link. Jess has already shared it a time or two in the comments. So be sure to go over there and check it out. And yeah, someone just said, not getting sidetracked here, someone said, I saw your video short on Richard Ojeda. He and I have actually spoken, and I wasn't sure if I was talking to the real person because there's just so many scammers out there. But he and I are supposed to talk soon, and I really hope that happens. I'll let you guys know when it does. But yeah, be sure to go over to Bandcamp and check that out. And then next Friday, I'm going to release You Might Be in a Cult, which I wrote with Jessica Denson about the Eric Swalwell rant that he went off on. Talking about how they might be in a cult. So got a lot of good music coming your way. Next Wednesday, me and Brian's going to go back to the studio and knock out 3 more. And so we're looking forward to that. The Bootlickers and Butt Sniffers tune that I put on Twitter, we're going to record that one. I wrote another one that's going to come out on Twitter tomorrow. It's called Shady Vance and Von Schitzenpants. It's inspired by Michael Cohen and his nickname for Trump. So look forward to that tomorrow. I'll try to get it out around noon on Twitter. I had a lot of fun writing that one. Me and Brian's going to record those 2, and then we're going to record a more serious nature country tune. And, you know, before I started writing these satirical tunes that caught on so well online, I was writing country music about my life experiences. And so I'm going to start creeping some of those tunes in on you as well. And I do want to announce that this Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time on members only. Now, you have to be a YouTube member to view this. I will be sitting here in this same spot, but we're going to have the first episode of Sunday Morning Sounds, or Sunday Evening Sounds, my bad. We will have Sunday Evening Sounds. I'm going to sit here and play you some music. I'll play you some of the political satirical tunes that I've written, but I'm also going to play you some of the music that I wrote about my life and some of the country tunes that I wrote before I started doing this gig. And so if you join up tonight for a membership, you can tune back in on Sunday at 7, and we'll have a fun time doing that. I'm going to have to knock the dust off some of my old tunes. It's funny. You know, I've written so many songs over the years, and some of them are so old now. There's times I'll be playing a song and I'm like, damn, I wrote this in 2005. It's damn near 20-year-old, you know? So, you grow as a songwriter as time goes on, you know, you end up growing, and you say to yourself years later, you say, well, I wouldn't say that if I was writing that today. But, you know, I just keep plowing forward with the songs, and I believe that they're just a documentation of where you were at that point in your life. And sometimes it's dark, and sometimes it's funny, and sometimes it's sad, and sometimes it's, you know, entertaining. Sometimes it might not be. But I just believe that your music should be a reflection of your life. And I've always been heavily influenced by Hunter S. Thompson and the buy the ticket, take the ride mentality. And so Sunday evening at 7 p.m., members only, we will sit down and I'll do some political tunes, but then I'm going to dive in and play some of my brand of country music. You know, there's a lot of debate these days, and that's actually been a debate that's been going on all of our lives. But there's a debate about what is and what isn't country music. I'll just say that I write my brand of it, and you guys can tune in and hear what and see what you think about it. I'm not going to be able to play any cover tunes for you because of copyright reasons here on YouTube, but we're going to be working here soon to get my my Patreon up and running better. And when we get that up and running better, the plan is to do like a jukebox kind of show where I can play you cover tunes over there. So to anyone out there who's missed hearing me do a Waylon cover, you can tune into that. But I really appreciate you guys being here with me on this Friday, and I think that's all the news that I need to catch up on at the moment. But yeah, I look forward to doing that. Just sitting down, members only, and we will we'll have a good time. And I'll be shaking off the dust of some of my older tunes to play for you. But one more thing before we get rolling back into the subject matter of tonight's episode. At the start of the show, we was at 288,294, and we're up to 303 now. So we're moving, we're gaining. If you ain't hit that subscribe button, be sure to hit it, because it just helps get the videos in the algorithm. And whenever you can, leave a comment, leave a blue heart if you don't feel like commenting. Just helps boost the videos in the algorithm. And I see people joining in on the memberships. I really appreciate seeing that. Try it on for size, see how you like it. I understand $1 hard to come by these days. So, if there comes a point where you can't do it, I totally understand. And you can continue to listen, and I'll keep pumping out stuff for you. But one thing that Trump has been doing these days is he's been calling these press conferences and these emergency press conferences. Let me get out there. And then when he does, you're sitting there saying to yourself, okay, is he going to have anything new to say? You say to yourself, okay, this is an emergency. Is he going to have anything new to say? And he doesn't. The guy just doubles down on his same old tired act. He does the same thing he does on the campaign trail, except he does it at a lower volume, which is even worse, because at least when he has his crowd there, he can get up there and start, Hannibal Lecter, have you heard about Hannibal Lecter? He can start that crap. But when he's doing it like in a toned down version, yeah, have you heard about Hannibal Lecter? It's like, it's so bad when he does it at a lower volume. It's kind of like a really bad comedic skit without the laugh track. A lot of times the laugh track will help get it over. And so he doesn't have the crowd. He doesn't have the energy, and he just stands there tired. Immigrants are coming across the border. We're a third world country. It's getting really bad. We're not going to have a country. It's going to slip away. And he's doing it so depressing. It's just absolutely depressing. Then you look over and you see Kamala Harris all full of energy. You see Tim Walz all full of energy. You see them laughing and smiling like normal adults do, and talking about the issues at hand, talking about what we're going to do next, talking about and laying out step by step, here's how we're going to fix our problems when we get there. And then over here is just Trump doing that same tired, well, I'm going to close the border. We want strong borders. It's just the same thing. And it's so bad when it's bad enough, loud and amplified, but it's even worse when he brings it down, because then he has no energy behind it whatsoever. And so it's just so cringe. And you think, okay, it's an emergency. He's got something he really wants to tell us this. It's an emergency press conference. No, it's never going to be anything different. He can't figure out how to change up his game. And he's just doubling down on the same rhetoric. And his team is telling him, or his advisors, from what I'm hearing, are saying that, hey, change it up. Don't. Now think about this before I say it. Let's just pause for a minute. People are saying to this guy, don't attack her for her race. People are saying to this guy, don't attack her for being a woman. And don't attack her for her crowd size and her popularity. Don't turn it into a pissing match. They're telling him this up front. They're saying it. And he can't change up the game at all. He's just going out there and doubling down. And there was one clip where they asked him about it. They say, don't you think maybe you should try to dial this back and stop with the personal attacks? And he actually said out loud, well, I think I'm entitled to the personal attacks because she's been very mean to me. And then they wonder why he's losing. And earlier tonight, I was listening to Jessica Denson on Lights On. Shout out to her. She's great. And like I said, next week we'll put out You Might Be in a Cult, and you guys will get to hear that one. We had a fun time playing that with the band because I kind of locked into my George Thorogood, John Lee Hooker influence. It was a lot of fun. But Jessica made a great point when she talked about how that back in 2016, Trump did stay on the subjects better, and he was reading from a teleprompter more, and they had him reined in. And she knew this because she worked on his campaign back then. Go check out her story. It's an amazing one. But now he's completely off the teleprompter. He's off the script, and his advisors can't rein him in. And this is what happens when This is what happens when you surround yourself by yes men. When you surround yourself by people who will just do your bidding and say what they want to say, or what you want to hear them say, it just becomes, this is what you get. You get a guy who is off the walls. You get a guy who is unhinged, off the rails, and there's no one there to dial it back or that will dial it back. It's either one or the other. It's either they're trying to or they can't, or they've just lost it at this point. So it's not 2016. And for anyone out there, it's like, this is going to be a rematch 2016. No, it's not, because it's a completely different political climate today. We've already seen his act. We've saw how that he goes about things. You can't shrug off the things that he said back then as locker room talk, because now he is a convicted felon. He's been found liable of sexual abuse. He's been found guilty of, of defamation. He's done these things. So there's no more, well, it's locker room talk, or, well, I'm tired of seeing Bushes and Clintons in the White House. That you can't have any of those arguments anymore. So it's not 2016. I think it's time that people understands that, and understands that, if he thinks he can, at this point in the game, just lay into personal attacks and win this thing, he is an idiot. He always has been. But man, I've said so many times that people don't understand. He ushered so many people into the political arena that don't understand politics. I've said that a lot. But here in the last couple of weeks, I've realized just how ignorant they truly are of it, because they're sitting back cheering this on. And I'm like, if you were cheering this on, you have to understand that he needs moderates and independents to win this. He has to have that. He has to have these swing states. If he doesn't get those, he's toast. And he's not doing anything to bring those people in. He's not doing anything to appeal to those people at all. And so I'm sitting there saying to myself, this isn't smart. There have been times in the past, my Uncle Brad passed away back in 2020. In some ways, it's like, man, I'm almost glad he ain't here to see some of this. It would probably send him out of here all over again. But we would have debates back in the day about whoever was running on our side of the aisle, and we would criticize our own, and we would say that's not a smart move. And I remember years ago when Bush was going to debate Kerry. The problem that John Kerry had, and I recognize this as a Democrat. The point I'm making here is I recognize this as a liberal and as a Democrat. I recognized a problem that John Kerry was going to have. John Kerry was saying that the war in Iraq was a mistake, but he voted for it. John Kerry was saying that the Patriot Act was a bad thing, but he voted for it. All the things that he was going to get up there and debate Bush about, he had voted for. And I said to my uncle, I said, when they get on the debate stage, the problem he's going to have is when he starts trying to criticize the Iraq war, Bush is going to be able to look over at him and say, you voted for it. And sure enough, me and my uncle watched that debate together, sat back like this and watched it. And when it came around to the Iraq war conversation, that's exactly what W said to him. And you can call W an idiot all day, but that's all he had to say to him. I recognize that as a progressive. I recognize that as a liberal. My uncle recognized it. We talked about it. Hey, this is going to be a problem for him. And MAGA never has that moment of self-reflection. I've never one time heard anyone in MAGA land say, you know what, that was a mistake. I mean, I hear some of the people that they label rhinos. I hear those people. But I don't hear, the hardcore MAGAs, the ones that are still hanging on. They don't question anything he says. They don't question his strategy at all. They never stop and reflect and go, maybe that wasn't smart. Maybe he needs to dial this back. They just hammer down with him. So he is moronic and they cheer it on, making them moronic. And it's like, what are you going to do with that? If they can't self-reflect and look and say, hey, we've got a problem, and he can't do it, if he's not capable of it, they're all going to go to the polls in November. They're going to vote. But over here is going to be a lot of progressives, a lot of liberals, a lot of Democrats, a lot of Republicans. And guess who else? The independents and the moderates who do not like that type of rhetoric, they're going to be voting. And Kamala Harris is going to be our next president. And when that happens, they're going to be going, yeah, but hold on, man. There was 1 billion people on Twitter. That's what we're dealing with. But these little emergency press conferences that he's got some big announcement to make, and then he just comes out and says the same old thing. It's not smart. And at times I almost feel like that it's like I could be his advisor. You know what I mean? It's like you say to yourself, dude, this is so over the top stupid that maybe you could try this. You know, it's ridiculous that they never have that moment. I've had that moment several times over the years. I've had that moment with candidates where I said, hey, you know, this might not be a good thing for us. And I remember one of the last elections that me and my Uncle Brad really followed closely together was 2016, because he started having health issues later on in life, and we weren't able to really get into the 2020 one too much. But and COVID was going on, everybody was staying in. But I remember us talking about in 2016, and he was like, you know, Brando, why are you pulling for Bernie? Why ain't you pulling for Hillary? He was hardcore behind Hillary Clinton. And I said, well, I don't want to see a Clinton and a Bush in the White House. I want to see something different, you know, or Obama. I mean, back, well, we're talking about, well, hell, I got way ahead of myself. We followed back. Well, what I started to say, we followed back in 2016, and I was saying back then that I was for Bernie because of Hillary, and because I was just tired of seeing Bushes and Clintons in the White House. Before that, I was making that same argument back when she ran against Obama. Nothing against Hillary. I think she would have been a much better president, a great president, and we wouldn't have a Supreme Court stacked the way that it is. But I just remember having those moments of like, we don't need this on our ticket, or we don't need this on our side. That's what reasonable people do. But MAGA is just the most unreasonable of people. They have the most unreasonable leader. And I have a bumper sticker here. I can't really lift it up, but I got a sticker on my guitar case. It's been on there for years. And it's a George Carlin quote. And it says, if you have selfish, ignorant citizens, you're going to have selfish, ignorant voters. And that's it. You know, that's really it. You know, if that's the type of people you appeal to, that's the type of people that's going to show up, then that's all you're going to have. And that's truly sad. But you know, if you appeal to that kind of people, that's what you're going to draw in. And that's who Trump tries to appeal to, doesn't care. He's not trying to bring anyone else new into the fold. But I remember so many times over the years, the conversations me and my uncle would have, and we would be saying, hey, Hillary needs to change this up, or hey, Obama needs to change this up a little bit, or hey, we've always had those conversations. But MAGA just doubles down, and it's so ridiculous to watch, and it's actually kind of cringe, honestly, to watch it. And a lot of times when I'm sitting down to do my videos, I'm just like, man, here we are again, you know. Here we are again talking about this. It's still going. You know, it's just like the movie that you can't quite walk away from yet. But hopefully one day soon we will, and we'll be able to sit back and reflect back on this and think back on this and say, you know, how did we ever get there? I really believe that years from now, after we're all long gone, I believe people will look back at this part of the world and go, how did it happen? You know, it's kind of like that movie Idiocracy. I kind of feel like we may be headed for that. It's just gotten so cringe over the years. But one of the notes that I had written here, like I said, I'm unscripted, but one of the notes that I have written down here just simply says Trump can't help it, and that's it. The guy can't help himself, and just continues to dig himself deeper, and the crowd goes wild. You know, I remember, if you watch closely, the George Foreman versus Muhammad Ali fight, Rumble in the Jungle in Zaire. Foreman's trainers was yelling at him to slow down, to stop swinging at Ali and quit hitting. You're wearing yourself out. And he just kept punching until he wore himself out and Ali knocked him out. And hopefully that's what's going to happen come November. Trump's just going to wear himself out. Kamala rope-a-dopes him and sends him home. I really think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be like trying to get dog shit out of your shoe on a hot summer day. It really is. It's going to be it's going to be something that's going to take a long time to get out of there, and it's going to stink when it's over. But I really feel like that we just need to keep our eye on the ball and stay focused. And I had a good buddy of mine say, Brando, you say in your videos all the time to keep our eye on the ball, but there's too much coming at us. And you're right, man. There really is a whole lot coming at us. And just when you think that Trump couldn't possibly go any lower, trust me, he can always go lower. I don't know if you guys saw or not the comment that he made about veterans again. It was absolutely crazy to me. What's crazy to me about Trump is the fact that for years we have had for years, folks, we have had the Republican Party tell us that they're the party of the military. And they've always tried to paint this narrative that Democrats are unpatriotic. And a lot of that really did start during the Bush years. If you oppose the Iraq war, they would say you were unpatriotic. And then Trump comes out and talks about giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom award. And he said that that was better than the Congressional Medal of Honor. It was better because those soldiers, he said, they all have to go out there. They have to take a lot of bullets and get hurt to get it. And a lot of them ends up dead. But I gave it to this woman, and she's just a healthy, beautiful woman. It was such a slap in the face to every veteran that's ever served. And when you hear a statement like that, he gave that award to an undeserving billionaire and then wanted to act like that it was better that she got it because she didn't have to do anything for it, because she didn't have to earn it. It was such an over-the-top slap in the face. And I've had so many people reach out to me in the comment section. I've had so many people private message me and say, Brando, listen, stop saying that Trump called them suckers and losers. I don't believe it. Well, a general who dedicated his life to services, who confirmed that Trump said that and worked alongside Trump when Trump said that, I'm much more going to take a guy's word like that. And I don't really see why he would have a reason to make up a story like that, honestly. But when I heard him say that, I was like, yeah, there you go. To the next person that tells me, don't believe that he called them suckers and losers. At this point, how can you not believe it? If you went to school every day back when you were little, and every day at school you bit another kid in the classroom, people would start to call you a biter. People would start to worry about you and look over the shoulder when you were coming, and you would have a hard time convincing. If all of a sudden another kid got bit, you would have a hard time convincing them that you were telling the truth. Even if you were innocent, you would have a hard time convincing anyone that you were innocent if you had the reputation for doing it. Trump mocked John McCain. And I really thought, when I saw that happen, I thought, this is going to be the moment, man. He's going to lose this. This is going to be the moment. It didn't. It just made him more popular. People back when John McCain was running, I remember having arguments with Republicans, and I remember them talking about things. And I remember them saying, you can't question McCain. He's a veteran. I remember several publications. I remember Rolling Stone. I don't remember the author that wrote it, but I remember several publications wrote articles about McCain and how that during the Vietnam War that he was negligent, and that, some of the, situations he got himself into was his own fault. I never would entertain those. I didn't care if a liberal publication or a progressive said it, because here's why. I didn't serve my country. Okay. And I can't judge what a man would do in that scenario. I don't know if what they were saying had any truth to it, but I would never go along with those type of attacks on John McCain, even though I disagree with him on politics and was dead set on voting against him. I wouldn't go along with those kind of attacks because it was an insult to his service, and because whether or not it was his fault or not, the man was tortured for this country. He went to his grave not being able to lift his arm all the way up. Trump mocked that too, by the way, later on. And those same Republicans that sat back and got all fired up about McCain being a veteran when he ran against Obama, those same people just laughed out loud when Trump said what he said about McCain. And I'm going, I wouldn't resort to those tactics back when Obama was running against him. So why are you guys resorting to this? And I think that's one of the moments in time where you realize, you know what, we ain't the same. We're not the same kind of person. I've had people reach out to me, old friends reach out and say things like, hey, we used to talk politics, debate politics. We'd love to debate you again. And I'm like, we're not really talking politics anymore to me. We're not really talking about who's going to pay for the health care. We're not really talking about, how high should the minimum wage be and how much should we tax the rich. I mean, we're talking about cruelty. We're talking about racism and bigotry and homophobia. We're talking about just absolute human trash. And it's like, it's not political to me. It's not about the left versus the right. It's not about Democrat versus Republican. I just don't feel that way about it. It was Democrat versus Republican when we were talking about the minimum wage. But here we are in 2024. And if they do talk about it, they still think it should be $7, which shows you how out of touch they are with reality. They want to complain about the prices being high, Every time you talk to them, they want to talk about the grocery bill, but no, keep minimum wage $7 in 2024, 7.25, whatever the hell. It's absolutely ridiculous. But I just don't feel like we're talking politics anymore, folks. I really don't. And it's just really sad to me that we're here at this point. But if I could go back in time, I could see like 2024 Brando arguing against a younger version of myself and saying, hey, look at it this way, or think about it a different way, or what this thing that this Republican's saying, you guys could find a better way to have this argument. It's really caused me to think and really caused me to examine how that I talked to people years ago. But I can say this much: back in those days, I was disagreeing hot and heavy with people. We were arguing. It was getting intense. Back then, it was a whole lot of you're not patriotic versus it was during the Iraq War. There was a whole lot of patriotic, arguments happening. But I don't ever remember saying that they were in W's cult. I don't ever remember saying that. I don't ever remember saying they were in a cult when McCain was running. And I didn't say it about Trump right out of the gate. I felt bad about it at first. I didn't want to say it at first. I didn't want to resort to that. But they gave me no choice. When I saw the cult-like mentality, and if you've ever studied a cult, you just know that the one thing you cannot do is question the leader, and the one thing you cannot do is leave. And anytime someone tries to leave, I mean, look at what we saw just in the last couple of weeks. We saw Kyle Rittenhouse, which, by the way, who would ever want his endorsement? But we saw him say he was going to write in Ron Paul. And then MAGA just pounces on him to the point that he comes out with a tweet later and says, I spent 12 hours talking with the Trump campaign, and I was wrong. I was misinformed. My bad. I'm sorry. And he jumped back in line. I mean, nobody should want him around anyway, but he tried to step out of line. Joe Rogan attempted to step out of line for a minute and said he was for RFK Jr., but then really quickly backtracked and said, oh, no, wait. And I'm like, Joe Rogan, you got a lot of money, man. You don't need MAGA. You don't need their endorsement. You got a platform. You got money. You got a show. You got a bigger platform than any of us. You can talk all day. And you had to backtrack over that? You had to cater to them? Those people scared you? I guarantee you, if the roles was reversed and if he'd have said something and, let's say Democrats and progressives had have attacked him, he wouldn't have come out and backtracked one bit. He would have came out and said, well, liberals are trying to cancel me. He would have rode that train. That's what he always does. But Trump barked at him and said, they're going to boo you at the UFC events, and he jumped back in line. A guy like that. So we've seen people try to walk away, and poor old Tim Pool with the beanie, that dude. But for anyone out there that trolls me over my bandana, they're sitting there watching the dude in the beanie. Maybe one day we could have the bandana versus the beanie. I don't know. But loser leaves town match, Tim. But anyway, now I lost my train of thought on that ridiculous. But anyway, no, Tim Pool was all over the place. But I don't think that guy is really as stupid as Rittenhouse. I don't think he's actually stupid. I think he just knows his audience and plays to it, because he was saying things like, this ain't going to work. And then they're barking at him. He's like, I'm sorry, but this ain't going to work. And they're barking. That guy was all over the place. Just complete lost ball in high weeds. But yeah. I ain't going to give him shit over his beanie, considering I wear a bandana all the time. But I just get cracked up at the trolls that gives me shit over this. And then they're sharing Tim Pool stuff. We both just, I guess, enjoy having something on our head. It's funny, like when I first started playing music, I'll tell you where the bandana came from, by the way, for those of you that's like, why you wear the bandana? No, I'm not a biker. Okay, I'm not. Back when I was growing up, I always wore a ball cap to school every day. I remember they used to make us take it off when we came through the front door, and I would hook it in my belt loop on my pants. And I had those trucker hats back in the day, that I wore back in high school. And then when I got out of high school, I started growing my hair long. I grew it all the way down to here, and it was auburn at the time. I was actually a redhead, believe it or not, when I was growing up. And so back then, I had the red goatee and the red long hair. People told me I looked like the Undertaker. But anyway, when I started going out playing music, the trucker hat, my head was so big and my hair was so thick that the trucker hat just really wouldn't fit anymore. And I had trouble with those, and it just kind of looked ridiculous. I didn't like how it looked, and it wasn't comfortable. And then I started going around trying to find some sort of different cowboy hat, maybe a Ronnie Van Zant style hat or some sort of fedora or something. And I tried those on and they just didn't really match the rest of the wardrobe that I wore. And I wasn't dedicated enough to go out and get like a like a button-up shirt and the boots and the pants. I wasn't that dedicated. I just wanted something that would go with the jeans and a t-shirt. And so, but I just felt the need to have something on my head. I don't know why. And so one day, I don't know why, I just always had bandanas in my drawer and I had them ever since I was a kid. And so I decided one day to tie it, and I had long hair at the time, so I tied it at first like Willie Nelson, with the top of my head still exposed. Tied it that way. Then I attempted one time only, and I changed it before I got to the gig. But I rode to the gig this way. When I got to there, I was like, I ain't walking in looking like this. But I tried to pull my hair out over top of it and kind of go for the Bret Michaels look for a minute, and that looked ridiculous. So finally, I just one day morphed it into this, and that was like 20 years ago, and it just stuck. And I just wore it to every show. I went through different phases. I wore a blue one, I wore a red one, I had some like different color blues, had a camouflage one at one point. And then one day I just settled on the black and just stayed there. Never rode a bike, never done any of those things. But what's so funny about it is when I sat down and started doing the political commentary, I actually started off defending that album over on the wall, Long Violent History by Tyler Childers. You can check it out. That was my first video I ever did, my reaction to the Long Violent History by Tyler Childers. I sat down in that chair to do the video that day because I just didn't feel like typing on Facebook. And I had my bandana on, and I said to myself, should I take it off? Should I try to present myself differently? And then I thought, no, this is just me. This is just who I am. It's who I've always been. And so I'm just going to wing it. And I winged it. The video caught on. And before you know it, I'm sitting here doing live streams and got 1,400 people in the house. So I really appreciate y'all for being here. I don't know the story behind Tim Pool's beanie. We'll see if it's as cool as my story. But anyway, yeah, we got a few more minutes to go here, folks. So I do want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and remind you of a few things. And then I'll try to zero in and grab a question or two out of the pile and take them before we leave. But I do want to remind you all, let me make sure I ain't got no notifications of things I'm supposed to do or things I'm supposed to remind you of. Someone asked if I wear mascara. No, I don't. I just have long eyelashes, folks. I really do. I have had people ask me that before, though. But I think Jess and people who have seen me in person can attest that my eyelashes are real. Anyway, okay. Now to regroup after answering that question. Did the person that asked that, you're not for JD Vance, are you? Okay, because if you are, something wrong with that. But anyway, I want to remind you guys to be sure. I want to be sure to remind you guys to go over to Bandcamp, bandcamp.com. If Jess could share the link, I thought I saw her in there a minute ago. She's shared it a couple of times, but maybe she can get it up there for us again. Yeah, August 19th, it starts the Democratic Convention. I totally forgot that. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. But go over to bandcamp.com. I finally got the B6 viral tune that I wrote, Bleach Blonde, Bad Built, Butch Body. It's out there. There it is. There's the link. Be sure to click on that. You've got the option. You can download it for $1 or you can pay more if you want to. And I appreciate all of you so far who's did it. We got Bleach Blonde, Bad Built, Butch Body up. Also on there is the song He Ain't From Here that I wrote about JD Vance. That came out last week. Now, coming up next Friday, I'm going to release the song You Might Be in a Cult, which was written by myself and Jessica Denson. I had so much fun writing that with her. When we got it in the studio, we kind of leaned into more of a John Lee Hooker, George Thorogood kind of vibe with it on the guitar. And I got to play some blues licks on it that I hadn't got to play in a while. We had a lot of fun with that. So be sure to tune in, and you'll find that on Bandcamp. And you can find the B6 tune, the Bleach Blonde tune. That's definitely at this point in the game my most viewed song of all time. So, I'll take it. If I'm remembered as the guy that poked at Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'll gladly be that guy. I have no problem with that being my biggest hit. The thing about it is, what's funny is I've heard so many people talk over the years about their hit they didn't like. Slash never liked Sweet Child of Mine. He always tried to get it off the set list. It's just one of those things. But here we are, and now that's the tune that people ask us for the most. So go over to bandcamp.com and check those out, and be sure to be on the lookout next week when you might be in a cult drops. Also, me and Brian's going back to the studio this coming Wednesday to record some more tunes. So we're going to get back on a kick of releasing tunes, and we'll put them out on Bandcamp first, let you guys grab them up there, and then we'll get them out on iTunes, Spotify, and everywhere else that music is served. Be sure, if you haven't already, to hit that subscribe button, and let's see where we were. At the start of the show, we were at 288,294. I'm going to refresh it. All right. We have gained 30. We've gained 30 subscribers just since we started this show in the last hour. We're up to 288,324. So that's super awesome. Thank you guys for doing that. It just helps to boost the videos and the algorithm. And it also helps you to know when I've released a new video if you hit that subscribe button. Also, be sure, if you haven't already, to check out our memberships. I do members exclusive content on there. We've been reading from Hillbilly Elegy, J.D. Vance's book. I got to get back on that. I've been so busy lately that I haven't had a chance to read any more of it, but I'm going to get back on doing that. And Sunday evening, this coming Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, if you will tune in on members only, and you have to have a membership to watch, and you can go for the bottom tier and get it. I think it's $2.99. You can tune in and watch members only live stream. We're going to call it Sunday Evening Sounds. And I'm not going to be able to play y'all any cover tunes because of copyright reasons here on YouTube. We don't understand the copyright rules, to be honest. I don't know how these guys get away with doing the reaction videos that they do to cover tunes. I actually enjoy watching some of those people. But anytime I've ever played a cover, I've automatically got copyrights hit on it. So I'm only going to be able to play you the original tunes that I wrote. We'll do some of the political satirical tunes, but I'm also going to dive back into my catalog and play you some of the country music I was writing before this stuff blew up. So if you guys want to hear that, join up for a membership. Thanks to everyone who joined as we went along, and thanks to the ones who have gifted memberships. I appreciate all of you for that. 7 o'clock Eastern time Sunday, we'll have Sunday Evening Sounds, and that'll be a whole lot of fun. And now later on, we're going to be working on our Patreon, getting it built up, and getting more content on there. And then over there, we will be able to do like a concert style where I can sit down and play some covers to anyone who's been dying to hear me sing a Merle Haggard tune or something by the Grateful Dead or whoever. When we do get over on Patreon and we can do the jukebox style, then I'll have fun with that, because we can play everything from Alice in Chains to George Jones on that, and it'll be fun. But yeah, if you haven't already, be sure to check that out. So, yeah, appreciate you guys so much for being here. You just hit the, if I ain't mistaken, folks, someone asked, how do you go about it? I think you just simply hit the join button. I don't know what, it shows something different on my end, but I'm pretty sure on your guys' end, all you got to do is just hit join. I'm going to queue up who is this? I'm going to queue up one of their videos here to see how this works. Got a Luke Beasley video up to see. Yeah, you've got the thanks option. I think you got join. So just hit that and you should be in like Flynn. So if you don't have a join button, I don't know. That's a good question. Somebody can figure it out. I saw on Luke's, he's got a thank you button. But yeah, be sure to check those out. And thanks to everyone who has come on so far. Maybe some people have them, some people don't. I'm not sure how that. Again, I'm looking at it through. I'm looking at it from my side, and my side looks different. Let's see. Well, maybe if you have a thanks button, I'm not exactly sure. Sorry about that. But okay. They can go to your YouTube channel. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, just go to the YouTube channel, folks, and be sure to check that out. Some folks have actually managed to pull it off somehow while we've been going, and some folks have gifted memberships. Someone said, okay, someone just joined up, so it must be working somewhere. But yeah, really, yeah, see the perks. That'll work. Thank you all so much for being here. It's been a great time. Hope you guys have had fun. I look forward to seeing you Sunday. I'll try to grab a question or two in our last 7 minutes here. 6 minutes or however so much we got left. But I really thank you guys so much for being here. Special thanks to Jess. She's feeling a little bit under the weather, but she still moderated the event. Thank you, Lynn Myers. Just gifted 5 Tennessee Brando memberships. Thank you so much for doing that. Summer gifted 5. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. So that'll get us some more people rolling in on Sunday at 7, where I will play you some of the country music that I've written over the years and play you some of the political satirical tunes as well. I'll give you a sneak peek at some stuff I've got coming up too. So I really look forward to doing that. And thank you guys so much. So yeah, thanks so much for gifting those. I really appreciate you guys. Do I ever sleep? No. I think that question's already long gone. I keep pulling up on the screen, but man, no, I don't sleep. The only way that I know I'm asleep is if I'm dreaming. Like when I lay down at night, I end up sleeping just a couple of hours, if that, and I'll say to myself, "Well, I was dreaming some pretty crazy shit, so I must have been asleep." But I never feel like my brain never feels like it shuts off. Honestly, it never feels like it stops. And not to get sidetracked here in our last couple of minutes, but if you just want some humor, I dream the most bizarre, random things you could ever dream. It's always like me and the weirdest cast of characters. Hell, it may be one of you guys. Maybe somebody from the comment section. I don't know, but it's happened. I've dreamed that it was like one time I dreamed that I was with a buddy of mine and the cast of Three's Company, and we were playing frisbee golf. I don't know what it means. Have no clue what it means. I've had dreams where it was me and like Bill Clinton and Hawkeye Pierce from MASH and Steve Urkel. And we're like, we're at an arcade somewhere in Harlan, Kentucky. I mean, it's just the craziest shit. So that's how I know I've kind of been asleep, or either I've bought the ticket and took the wrong ride before I went to sleep, one or the other. But yeah, that's a great question. I wished I did. So I mean, now, every now and then I catch a good nap. But once in a blue moon, I will like catch a really good nap, and I'm like, oh man, they'll wake up feeling like it's 1987 and I missed the bus. So, yeah. Someone had a question here. See if I can find this back. This is a good one. What do your older kids think of Dad's newfound fame? Well, that's a great question, and I like the fact that it's sort of a non-political question. They're very accepting of it, and they're very supportive of it. They were raised up by their mom. I had visitation rights, and they came and see me all the time. But they lived with their mom growing up, and their stepdad. He's a great dude. We all get along great. We have different views on the world. They're church going people. They go every Sunday. They raised my older kids in church. I never protested, never had a problem. I let them go ahead and do that. That's their business. And as my kids got older, they begin to see a lot of things the way I do. Not everything. We still don't agree on everything, but they're open-minded and they understand what I'm doing. They understand why I'm doing it too. I've made sure to explain to all my kids, even down to my younger ones. I've always made it a point to explain why it is I'm doing it, because I truly believe it. For all the people that wants to know if I really mean it, I seriously do. So yeah, it's been really good. They've came around to it, and we talk a lot about things. And I'm not trying to throw them under the bus here, but they're excited to vote, and I'm excited that they're voting too, and I'm excited that they're seeing through a lot of things. So it's been good. My youngest son Oakley don't fully understand it, but he's actually been out of camera shot in some of my videos. The funny part about Oakley is he's 6. I named him after the late great Barry Oakley from the Allman Brothers. He will sit over to my side sometimes and just maybe one day I'll have to do a members only video and bring him into the shot for a minute, but he'll sit there like a quiet as a mouse and just stare and watch me do it. And so that's pretty funny when he does. But thanks for that question. I really appreciate it. Someone said they dreamed they was a member of the Doors and Jim was driving. Wow, that's a great dream. I have had some, I have had some funny dreams, and Jess is right there. We absolutely do have the best chat group. It's hard sometimes to leave because we get such a good conversation going right here at the end that I have more fun right here in the last 15 minutes than I do the rest of the time. We do have a hell of a chat room, and that's why we're looking forward to getting our Patreon up and running more. We'll maybe have an after party kind of show. We'll just go on over there and keep the ball rolling. So we're going to be working on that, and I can't wait to get that rolling. But yeah, if anybody has a final question, we're right down to the last minute. So yeah, welcome to the new members. I appreciate you guys so much. If I see a question before I go, I'll grab it. But yeah, man, we have a great time. 7 p.m. on Sunday, I will be doing Sunday Evening Sounds, and I'll be playing some of my brand of country music. You'll hear the political satirical tunes. We'll all have a laugh at Marjorie Taylor Greene's expense, but We will also play some of my older country tunes that I wrote. Some of them's 20 years old by now. But the thing about them is, I'll give you one little sneak peek. The songs that I sang to you about the life that I lived are true. The names were changed to protect the guilty. So yeah, it'll be a fun show. I used to always say that. I used to always say the names were changed to protect the guilty. And then one day I ended up writing a song about an old friend of mine, and I haven't seen him in years. I don't even know if he's still with us. He was an older man, but he told me a great story one night after the bar closed. We were sitting in there after the band got paid and the lights were all down. We're just sitting there and talking, and he told me a great story. And when it was over, I was like, dude, I am writing a song about that. I said, don't worry, though. I'll change the name to protect the guilty. And he said, you better not. He said, you better not change my name. You better tell him who the hell I was. So I wrote that one called A Song for Ron. I'll have to play it on Sunday. But that's the only time. It's one of the few times that it was the person's real name. Do I still believe in magic? Depends on what you call magic, I guess will be the answer to that. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys for being here. Do I like The Cure? I've got to be brutally honest with you. I've never really dug too far into The Cure to have an opinion. Yes, on the Traveling Wilburys, absolutely. And really appreciate you guys for being here. Hope everyone has a good rest of your weekend, and we'll wind down on Sunday and get ready for our week by playing some music. What is my favorite color? That's a great question. It really is a great question because I don't really have a straightforward answer. I'm more like gray, like gray and black and kind of blue. I have one shirt that I wear, came from Circa Printing in Knoxville. It's kind of a burgundy, like a faded. I like faded colors. I don't like anything that's very loud. I don't like anything to pop really hard. And yeah, the color green, I have a funny story about that. Don't ask. Nothing against the color green. If green is your favorite color, there's nothing wrong with green. I'm sure green looks great on you. Green is my mom's favorite color. Green looks great on my mom. But anytime I've ever wore green, something terrible has happened. Anytime I've ever drank from a green bottle, something terrible has happened. Anytime I've ever rode in a green car, it's just green does not agree with me. The only shirt that I have, which I will argue is actually tan, is the Kaz Walker shirt that I wear from time to time. It's leaning on the green a little bit. But funny story, one time me and Jess went to see Mike and the Moon Pies. They're now called Silverado. But we went to see them, and like the lights was, like down in the where the merch booth was. And I picked out a shirt that I thought was gray. And when I got it home, it was green. And I was like, hell, I can't do this. You got to trade me shirts. And so she was a good sport and traded shirts because I was like, I can't wear green. I mean, it looks good on other people. And yeah. Mike and the Moon Pies, they're now known as Silverado, and I don't like that name, but check them out sometimes if you just like really authentic honky-tonk country music. Just really good country music. Not Jason Aldean, Luke Bryan crap. I'm talking really good, old-school sounding, kind of Gary Stewart, Amazing Rhythm Aces meets like Mel Street meets sort of rock and roll. It's really good. They're really good. They're one of my favorites. And I clicked on them one night because I thought Mike and the Moon Pies was a funny name. And now they've changed it to Silverado, which is like a Silverado truck, but with an A on the end of it. So yeah. What is my favorite food? Chicken. I could eat chicken 5 days a week. I never get tired of it any way you make it. So yeah. Again, thank you guys so much for being here. So yeah, someone said they had forgotten about the Amazing Rhythm Aces. I'm a huge Amazing Rhythm Aces fan. Russell Smith is one of my favorite songwriters. I've covered so many of their tunes over the years, and when we get over on Patreon eventually and can do the jukebox show, I'll bust out some End Is Not in Sight, Third Rate Romance, Amazing Grace used to be her favorite song, The Rock. Oh, God. Russell Smith is one of my big heroes. I loved him. Loved Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground. Absolutely loved him. No, I don't raise chickens. Favorite songwriter is Mike Cooley from the Drive-By Truckers. I have a bunch. John Prine here on the wall behind me is a major influence. I love Tyler Childers, but Hank Williams Sr., I think, is one of the greatest of all time, and Merle Haggard as far as the classics. But Mike Cooley from the Drive-By Truckers is my all-time favorite songwriter. So I love Ray Wiley Hubbard too. If you've never checked him out, I love James McMurtry and I love Lucinda Williams. That's just my answer today. Is the Mount Rushmore of songwriters would be Mike Cooley, Lucinda Williams, Ray Wiley Hubbard, James McMurtry. I love those guys. But then, of course, you would have to have the other side of it, like with the legends of like Hank and Merle Haggard and people like that. But and John Prine, man, God, he was such an influence. A good buddy of mine carved that on a wood carving machine he's got, and I got it off of him. But that first John Prine album was a life changer. I don't actually have a truck. I drive an old Crown Vic. So yeah, I freak out the stoners here in East Tennessee. They see me coming and they start hiding. A funny story, back before I started doing YouTube full time, I actually DoorDashed for a little while, and I figured out that DoorDashing in Southeast Kentucky and East Tennessee in a Crown Vic is not a good idea, because when you drive back into the hollers to these stoners who have ordered Taco Bell, they won't answer the door. So yeah, that was pretty funny. But yeah, I do remember Barbara Mandrell. Lucinda Williams' Drunken Angel is one of my favorites, and it was actually written about one of my favorite songwriters, Blaze Foley. If you guys have never heard of Blaze, be sure to check him out. So we're kind of here in overtime, just shooting the breeze, but I really appreciate you guys for being here with me. Ray Wiley Hubbard, cool. Snake Farm is about oh wow, you live next to the snake farm. That is awesome. I don't think I've ever met anyone that said that. That's awesome. Glad to see some people in here that digs the same kind of music I do. So you guys will probably enjoy the kind of music that I write. Be sure to tune in, members only, on Sunday evening sound, 7 p.m. members only. I'll be right here in this chair playing you some country music, and I will have the Buddha. I'll make sure I have the Buddha to the commenter that keeps wanting the Buddha. He'll be here, and we will. I will sing you some original country tunes that I've written over the years and tell you the stories behind them. I will say that, folks. The one thing about my songs, they may be dark, they may be twisted, they may be sad, but I lived it. I bought the ticket and took the ride. Now, when we started this show, we was at 288,294 subscribers. I'm going to refresh it one last time. Wow, we jumped up to 288,348. So someone's going to have to do the math on that one, but we really did good, folks. Thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button. Be sure to join me on Sunday, members only, and live stream. We will do some stuff. I got to go, because if we start talking music and I keep seeing people talk about the Rolling Stones and Black Sabbath and all the great comments I'm seeing going by, we'll be here the rest of the night. But we will have the Buddha here on members only, and I'll play you my song, The Laughing Buddha, which is a true story. And yeah, we'll have a fun time doing that. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks to Jess for moderating. Thanks to everyone that tunes in. We do have the best chat room ever. Joe Cocker, Ozzy. Yeah, I'm right there with you. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys are the best. Love you guys. I get distracted with that comment section because, I love music, but we'll have a good time Sunday, and I'll see you guys again here next Friday. Same time, same channel, and we'll try to maybe get a guest between now and then. It's been a while since I had a guest on, so I may try to round somebody up. We'll go out here and round someone up to be on the show. So thank you guys so much for being here with me. I truly appreciate you, and we'll see you again. We'll see you Sunday if you're members only, and if not, we'll see you again next Friday, same time, same channel. Thank you all so much.